What is going on, everybody? This is Major League Hats, and welcome back to another Funko Pop and beer review. Today I have a very special beer, so I thought it would be the perfect opportunity to do the special Funko Pops. And I really do mean special. Out of all the Funko Pops I've been able to collect, for me personally, regardless of what Funko Pops I collect down the line, nothing will beat this set in my mind. This was a great show. And when I first started, getting into Funko Pops, I looked these ones up, or I didn't know if I looked them up or I knew about them, but I knew right away I had to get them. I would have to say, if I remember correctly, they are the most pricier of some of the Funko Pops I have, but that's not why they're my favorite ones. You'll see why they're my favorite ones in just a moment. I am tactically missing one because that Funko Pop is just going to have to be one of those ones that I basically save a little up for and try to get it that way, and then I probably won't even find like one that I would really be happy with because as a collector, box condition is everything, and it doesn't matter really what you're collecting in a sense. The condition of the item and the whole package in a whole is the ideal situation. Now, obviously, if you can't get the box or the packaging pristine, then you make up for it. You just kind of accept it because you understand the rarity of the item. You do hope to save a couple dollars. But at the same time, the person that's always selling the item knows that this item is not, an easy item to get, and they're not going to want to take a pay cut, if you know what I mean. So I am going to show you the beer first, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the Funko Pops that I'm talking about. Now, where I live in Sonoma County, there is a special beer. It is released once a year in the month of February, and it's only released for 2 weeks. This company is called Russian River Brewing, and they make a lot of good beers that I like. You guys know I drink a lot of ale beers and whatnot, and this is by far some of my favorite beers. So in this particular release, in years past, you would literally have to stand in line when they would release this beer for 8 to 12 hours. I'm not kidding you. You can go look up the articles if you would like. I encourage you if you really want to check my info. But you will spend a minute in line. And the same consensus is once you get to try the beer, after your long-ass wait, you're like, it's well worth it. Well, a couple years ago, they finally opened up one in my little town, which was actually really freaking cool. And so I decided, hey, why not try and go get one of those beers that you have to wait in line. Now, originally there was only one place you could go get the beer, and it was in Santa Rosa, which for me, that is about a 15-minute drive, about 7 miles south of me. So it's not necessarily too far, but the restaurant location is in the downtown area, so parking can be a pain in the ass. And me personally, I didn't want to wait freaking 8 hours per se. So I'm like, well, as soon as they open up the Windsor one, I will go to the Windsor one. So that's what I did. And so the first year I went, I'm not kidding you, it was just me, just by myself. I spent half hour in line, and there was hardly anybody there. But that was the first year that this particular beer was being released at this new Russian River Brewery. So then I'm like, okay, I'm going to kind of make this a little bit of a tradition. Why not? It was really easy, and it is a freaking great beer. This beer is a high alcohol content. They only allow you to drink 3 10-ounce cups. They make you wear a wristband and everything. They actually take off the little tabs and everything once you get your beer until you run out, which is only, like I said, 3. And then basically, you either drink other beers or you go. But to be honest, guys, once you have 3 of these beers, it is probably a good idea, especially if you got to drive a little bit, to just go home, because you don't realize how hard this beer hits you. Now, with that being said, I'm just trying to share a little bit backstory of this particular beer. But this year, for the first time ever, they decided to bottle the beer. And they bottled the beer in a limited quantity amounts that you could purchase once you got into the restaurant. So you could go in and have your 3 10-ounce drinks of this particular beer, and then you can get 2 bottles to go. That's it. Limits was 2. That's it. So I decided to go for the first time this year, and I was a little bit, but I was pleasantly surprised with the line. I waited 4 hours the first day, and then the second time, because I did go 2 times, I actually did not spend that long in time. I got there an hour before the restaurant opened, which is, I believe it was either 10 or 11 o'clock. You can go on the Russian River Brewery and check out their hours if you ever want to go. And then the second time I went, I probably only spent about 2 to 2.5 hours. And I actually was with Team Mom that day. And the first time I went, I was just by myself. So, you know, we got in there, in my opinion, in a good amount of time. And if you haven't figured it out, the beer that I am talking about is Pliny the Younger by the Russian River Brewery. Now, this beer, it says it's done by the Russian River Brewing Company, as I said. It's called Pliny the Younger. It's based out of Santa Rosa, Windsor. This is a alcohol content of 10.25. And it says Pliny the Younger was first brewed as a seasonal release during the slow days of winter 2005. This is Younger's first time ever in a bottle, something we said we would likely never do. Famous last words. Please keep cold and enjoy fresh for the best hop aroma and flavor. Now, I will say I've already had a couple of the beers. As you can see the bottles on the back. And then I had an old classmate that I did pick up a couple bottles for him as well. And I took those to him. And this was one of the leftovers on the Pliny the Younger. Now, they also make another beer, and it is called Pliny the Elder, but I ran out of this one. This is known as like the father of the beer per se. This is a very good beer as well. This is a 8.0 alcohol per volume, and the funny part is, even though this is an 8 point and this is a 10 point, this actually tastes a little bit weaker than the Pliny the Elder beer. So that's why I say you got to be careful. The other cool part is, for the first time ever, of course, you got this little 2-bottle carrying case. So check that out. Now, I will say I've had this beer in the fridge. It is late March, and this beer was bottled on February 14, 2020. And I don't know how the taste is going to be, because technically when you get these particular beers, you want to kind of drink them right away. So this beer is roughly 5 to 6 weeks old. It's been sitting in the fridge for that long, but that's okay. So before we crack it open a little bit, I want to show you one of the Funko Pops and the set that we are going to be talking about in today's video. Alright guys, the Funko Pop and the set that we are going to be talking about is, bam! Sons of Anarchy. This was one of my favorite shows, basically, I would have to say all time. This was a show on FX. I watched all, I think there was like 6 or 7 seasons. I have them on DVD, and each season, when a new season would come out, I would actually go back and watch the previous seasons to catch back up on it, because that's how much I love the show. So I've probably seen the show completely through about 4 or 5 times. Now, I know you're going to say that doesn't make sense, but I probably skipped it later in the later seasons. But I saw everything about 4 or 5 times. This Funko Pop, I will tell you guys, I'm not taking it out of the box or anything. None of these Funko Pops are going to come out of their little Funko Pop protector, just because I want to keep the box in good shape. So this is Clay Morrow. If you guys are not aware, Clay Morrow was basically the leader of the Sons of Anarchy, and his stepson, Jax Teller, and then Clay used to ride with Jax father, and so that's kind of how it all went. But anyways, the battle on the show is that, for the most part, at least the eternal battle, is that Clay is basically the OG going out, and Jax is the OG coming in. And then on top of it, Jax doesn't know who to trust. He doesn't know if he could trust his mom. He doesn't know if he could trust his brothers. And his best friend was unfortunately killed later on in the episodes. And so at that point in time, he's kind of lost. He's trying to figure out himself, find his identity. In the meantime, though, Clay is running everything to his standards, while Jax has other things in mind. Anyways, it's a great show. I loved it. Can't go wrong. So we're going to take a look at this one. So this one, and I'll show you guys a close-up picture, but this one, he has his knuckles closed like that, which is kind of interesting because, one, it's the impression that basically he's riding on a bike. But the other thing is, if you watch the show, you know that he has, I guess it's carpal tunnel or something like that. and he can't really close his fist for too long to grip the motorcycles, and eventually he has to kind of get shots in his knuckles to make him feel like he can go on long rides. And that is also partly why he also decided to step down, because he couldn't grip the handlebars. He has his chain wallet, and then I think his patch should say president, and then he has this patch on his jacket that says original, and then redwood, and then I think it's his first 9. I can't see, should say first 9 if I remember correctly. And then on the back it says there's 4, so this is number 89 in the set. You have Jax Teller, Clay Morrow, Gemma Teller Morrow, like I said, Gemma is Jax's mom, and then you have Opie Winston. So check that out. That is freaking awesome. Sorry about the glare. So let me show you guys Clay Morrow real quick. Now, if you guys don't know who Clay Morrow is, he is actually Ron Perlman, and he played the character on Hellboy. So it's kind of funny in a way to see him in his real natural form, if that makes sense. He also has his little red earring in his ear, so hopefully you guys can see that. And so, like I said, when I decided to get into Funko Pops, I decided that this was definitely a Funko Pop I had to get, or I should say, the set. So here we go. They also have a variant of Jax Teller, and I was mentioning earlier before, that is the one that it's going to take me a little bit of time, but basically that one, Jax Teller has his Reaper hat on backwards. From what I've seen, that one goes for at least $300, give or take. And like I said, the hard part is trying to find one that has great box condition. The next Funko Pop we're going to take a look at, and then we will crack open the beer, but we got Gemma Teller Morrow. Now, Gemma, of course, like I just said, is Jax's mom. She is like the queen of like all the biker women, and she gets really jealous at Clay, because basically Clay goes on a road trip, sleeps with some young ass girl, and then what they say usually is what goes on the road stays on the road, and unfortunately it didn't come back. Also, Gemma got herself into some situations because later on she thought that Jax's wife was telling on the club, and she couldn't let anything happen, so she goes into confront Tara, and then she ends up stabbing Tara to death, and then Juice walks in, and then they find out that they made a huge mistake because the cop who was doing the transporting for Tara said it wasn't her that said anything or anything like that, and so they ended up killing the sheriff deputy there as well. So then she kind of goes on the run, and like I said, she can't be trusted, but she's still manipulating everybody around her, including Jax. So this is Gemma Teller. If she looks a little familiar, she should. If you guys ever saw Married with Children, she was played Peggy Bundy on the show. And then if you ever saw Futurama, which I didn't see a lot of episodes, she did do the voice of one of the characters on Futurama. So I like this one. She's got her little sass stance with her hands down like this. She's got her big ass hoop ass earrings on. She's got her nice it's like a coffee mocha type hairstyle, and she's got her leather jacket. I wish they would have did a little bit better on the facial features, but then again, it's okay. The one thing I can't see too well, because the image on the Funko Pop is really small, but they're showing it at least on the box a little bit. Gemma had a scar down her chest right there, possibly from open heart surgery. I don't recall them ever explaining that scar on her chest. I'm thinking maybe in real life she had a medical issue that she had to have a procedure done, but I just can't remember them ever mentioning why that scar was there, so I can't see if that scar is actually there. So, and then she's got her black boots on, and there you go, guys. That is Gemma Teller. Hopefully you guys can see it through the glare. Like I said, unfortunately I'm not going to be taking it off. This box is actually really good. I will tell you guys, this was one of the last Funko Pops I needed for the set, and Team Mom got it for me for this past year's Christmas, so I was actually really happy. And the funny part is, where she got it was Walmart. Now I will say on Walmart, they do a lot of, let's say, secondary party type situations where you can buy on, technically it's Walmart, but they're getting the item from somebody else, and that's kind of what she did, and I'm really happy that she did that. Alright, let's get back to the beer before we get to the final two Sons of Anarchy Funko Pops. We're going to crack this baby open, because it is time to freaking open it. Look at that. Nice little aroma, foam coming up, or steam. Has a nice fruity hoppy smell. You can still see some bubbles. Salud to all my Funko Pop collectors, my hat collector buddies out there, and to everybody who watches my video. If you are new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button and hit your notifications so you can get notified when I upload the next Funko Pop and beer review video. Still tastes really freaking good. It's funny, I've mentioned this previous. I don't like grapefruit for some reason, and it's the hops probably, obviously, and they got that citrusy taste. A lot of L beers taste like they have grapefruit in them, but I really like the taste. So here we go, guys. Let's do the pour. I got my giant ass mug right here, so let's do the pour. Woo-hoo-hoo! That is a serious pour right there. If you guys didn't notice, the cool part about when they were selling these in the bottles is that these things were 1 pint, 1.25 ounces. I believe that is what, about 16, 17 ounces. So this is about a beer and a half of what you would get in the restaurant. So look at that nice clean beer. You got your foam on top. Look at that. That is... Oh, look at that. You see the bubbles coming up, so it's still very good. Obviously, you want to kind of drink these as quick as possible when you get them. And we will be getting to the chug in just a second. The next Funko Pop we're going to take a look at is Opie Winston. Now, Opie, I'm not too familiar with this character, and if you ever played any other characters in any other shows, but on the show, he was considered Jack's best friend. If I remember correctly, he decided somewhere in season 1 or 2, it was probably season 2, that he was going to take, you know, the fall for the club for a situation that happened. And so he was kind of like in a lost place, lost situation, struggling with work, struggling with his family. His family wanted him to kind of go on the straight and narrow side, but then unfortunately his family is killed by a drive-by, which unfortunately ended up being his club that did it. Anyway, so he goes in jail, and then something happened where I can't remember why, but basically it was something to do possibly with the deal that the club had, where they basically had to sacrifice one of their own, and unfortunately Opie was that guy. So they made everybody watch while Opie came in, and then like these other prisoners came in and basically beat the crap out of Opie and killed him. And I'm going to tell you guys, it isn't a show for the faint of heart. It is like almost like a rated R show. There's some nudity. There's a lot of drug situations, obviously guns, violence, stuff like that. So, you know, if you're not able to watch those shows, don't watch it. But if you're able to watch those shows and you're looking for a good show, I'd definitely go watch it. But Opie was one of those guys that always wore the black beanie. He's got his hands in like a fist position. He's got his chain wallet with his black shoes, blue jeans. He's got his little Glock handgun in his hand. He had like a full beard. So this is a very good representation of Opie. Love the fact that they got a beanie on him. That is actually pretty cool. They could have gone with like anything else, but he was known to wear his beanie, so check it out. Opie is freaking awesome. When he was killed off in the show, I was actually really freaking sad. Because like I said, he was Jack's right-hand man. And he was everything to Jax. And, you know, it's just one of those things, I guess, that eventually they have to figure out a way to shake up the show. And in the way beginning, that was one of the ways that they decided to shake up the show, which was to get Opie off. And I'm not sure if there was something going on in the background where he was like moving on, or he had other projects or anything like that, because honestly I don't remember hearing anything after that. So there you go, we got Opie. And the very last one, you guys, and to me, one of the better ones, of course, out of this particular set. Now, Opie can kind of be very similar in price. Jax Teller was the most expensive one in the set. And here you go, guys. Jax Teller. Now, the interesting part about this one is that he's wearing white shoes, which is kind of weird. but also he has a knife in his hand. He's got his hand in the fist position. On his vest, it does say Sam Crow. It does say Vice President. I can't really see the labels or anything. Let me see if they say it right here. So Sam Crow, Vice President, Redwood Original. So he was part of the first ones to start the club, him and Clay and whatnot. And he's got his blonde hair, his little goatee. And if you guys are not familiar, this is Charlie Hellman, I believe it's pronounced. And he was on a number of other movies afterwards, and they weren't really any of the type of movies I watched. I did try to watch like one of them. It was some sort of medieval movie, but you know, it's just not my cup of tea. There was also rumor that he was going to be cast in 50 Shades of Grey, and he's one of those kind of quiet guys in a sense, so he didn't want all the potential extra added attention to come along with it. I like the fact that he's got a knife in his hand, only because like he was more known to be a more hands-on hands type of guy in a sense. Did he shoot somebody every now and then? Of course he did, but a lot of the times it was more hand-on-hand combat with him. He wasn't afraid to get it down, and he would have your back in a heartbeat. So check it out. Jax Teller. So, like I said, the show is not for everybody. It is kind of a grim show, but to me, it was a great show. So there you go, guys. The last final four. I wish they would make the rest of them like Bobby and Chips, because I know they've had some custom figures float around online. There's also Juice, of course, and there's so many more that I can't remember at the top of my head right now, but there's so many more characters I wish they would have did, and for some reason they never did it. So hopefully they do have like a relaunch of them down the line. I would like to see that. I would also like to see you know, Funko do a, you know, ride situation with them where they're riding on their Harleys, or, you know, that would actually be pretty cool to have a Jax on the motorcycle, Opie, Clay on the motorcycles, Gemma in the van or something, or she was actually more known to drive her like SUVs and stuff like that. And then Juice, who is Theo Rossi, have them like in a van. Have one of them in a van, because they used to always kind of ride in a pack, and then like the van would be the trailing vehicle behind all of them. So that would be really cool. So hopefully one day Funko will do that and get that going, because man, if they do that, I'm gonna like double or triple up on all of them, because like I said, this show was freaking awesome. And honestly, if these weren't, you know, so expensive in a sense, I would go and get another set so I could open them, because I'd rather have them open. Or maybe I should just try to find some that are open already. It's just I'm a little weird about buying open stuff already. Yeah, it's just one of those weird little things. So anyways, guys, we are going to do our chug. That is my Funko Pop review on the Sons of Anarchy. Let me know if you guys ever got them. I do understand these Funko Pops are on the older side, but this was like one of the main sets that when I started collecting my Funko Pop collection, I had to get no matter what. And like I said, I'm still going to try to get Jax Teller with the backwards Reaper hat. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully I will get that in the near future. But with all that being said, guys, I know it was a lot, so let's drink up. Again, cheers to all my hat collectors, Funko Pops, and all my YouTube buddies out there. Cheers. Let's do the chug now. Cheers. Major League Cats out. Bye, everybody. See ya.